My name is Michael Wigge, originally from Germany, and talking about leadership today. Huh? What's the first thought? The German talking on leadership? Well, I often get that, like, oh my God, hopefully that's not going wrong. Huh? So don't worry, it's going to be good, it's going to be very good, because nowadays, us Germans, we have a good leadership, pretty good leadership, better than, obviously, things that happened in the 20th century. So, our leadership nowadays might not be that funny, that humorous. Like, we're not known to be really, as Germans, to be the funny people somehow. But let's give our president, our chancellor, some credits. 13 years in leadership in Germany, political leadership, between many men around the world, leaders, and kind of like doing it, right? She's kind of, all right. So, well, you wonder, why is he saying all right? I talked to some friends of mine the other day, German friends in Germany, and we were like, how do you think about her? Has she done a good job? Almost retired, like one more year. Huh? And my friend was saying, like, well, not too bad. And he asked me, so what do you think about, the German chancellor? And I was like, could be worse. Huh? So you might wonder, like, oh, these Germans are not that appreciative to their leadership, right? Well, if you translate it culturally, intercultural, like if we Germans say not too bad, Americans would say, oh my God, I love it. I love her. She's awesome. So we take it easy with appreciation sometimes. But, inside, we appreciate. But we just don't, forward that so openly. So this kind of similar conversation happened to me 35 years ago. This is me growing up around Frankfurt in Germany. And my teacher asked me, Michael, what do you want to do, for a living one day? I was like, I don't know. He's like, okay, don't worry. We're going to talk in 10 years. So 10 years later, he asked me again, what do you want to do for a living one day? And I said, yeah, I want to become a motivational speaker in America. And he was like, well, that idea is not too bad. Well, so pretty appreciative. So I really planned to become a motivational speaker in America one day. So I graduated in 1996, small town in Germany, and one person got something so-called the internet. It was a big thing. Do you remember the first search engine you used in the 90s? Which one? Excite? Navigator? Right, the first one right, so different ones. Yeah? So the first one that reached Germany, or my hometown, was something we pronounced as Alta Vista. Remember Alta Vista? So my friend said, look, come over. We are the only people in town with the internet. I mean, you can look it up. If you want to become a motivational speaker in America, you might find some quotes, some people who are, speakers in America. So I did that. I went on Alta Vista, and it took half an hour for search results to come up, right? And they were there. I was like, oh my God. So it really, first time in my life I could see something, kind of live from a different side of the world. And I went through these, different speakers that were presented to me. And, one thing I realized that motivational speakers in America, leadership speakers, they pretty much had a leadership achievement to kind of qualify to become a speaker, right? So I didn't have one. So I was like, oh my God, what should I do? So I looked them up, and two of the speakers had climbed Mount Everest. I was like, okay, good. Won't be able to do that. All right. Others had climbed up to the base camp. Okay, kind of an achievement. It's kind of like 20,000 feet or whatever. And then I found two speakers at that time who had climbed Mount Everest. So, some achievement as well. You drive up and, kind of walk to the peak. So, well, exactly, it doesn't sound like the greatest achievement, but something to qualify. Here was my problem now. In Germany, the highest mountain is 9,000 feet. So it's like, I couldn't even have an achievement like Mount Everest. It was just like, the German mountain, doesn't really sound good here, right? It's kind of 9,000 feet. It's like climbing on the roof here in the hotel, right? So I needed something else. And I thought, if I want to become a speaker in America, what kind of leadership, achievement could I have? And I thought about my personality traits, you know, where am I good in? And then I just thought about, well, you know, 18 years old at that time, I'm broke. I'm broke, but maybe I can do something, you know, that requires a lot of money, and I do it without money. And so I came up with the idea to travel the world for free. No money for food, no money for accommodation, and no money for travel. So all three for free, from Germany to Antarctica, 25,000 miles. So I planned it out, you know, as Germans we like to plan, you know, structured things, you know, how can I do it, you know, got ideas. And I went on that trip. And I know, you know, this kind of leadership achievement is way different than what you guys experience, you know, in your positions every single day. But when it comes down to certain leadership traits, I think there is a common ground we're having. And I would like to share this with you today. So this is how it looks like when you're without money in the Grand Canyon. You know, you're like, oh my God, how do I get food? You know, how do I get, you know, accommodation? So can be tricky, can be really tricky. And this is kind of like how the trip looked like.
A 30 to 35,000 kilometer journey from Berlin to Antarctica will be anything but a walk in the park without a penny in his pocket. The journey will take him across the Atlantic to Canada and on to the USA, hopefully taking in the Grand Canyon, through Central America, and eventually through Colombia, and finally down along South America. After traveling through at least 10 countries and practically all climates the planet has to offer, he will somehow find a way across the Drake Passage to Antarctica.
All right. Anyone ever thought about going to Antarctica? Oh, you have?
I thought about it.
You thought about it, right? Good, good. Keep it as a thought, you know. Keep it as a thought because it's very cold down there, you know. Right, so when I left Berlin, you know, at that time I was living in, you know, Berlin, the capital of Germany. You know, I started, you know, hitchhiking, you know, kind of you don't have money, what you do, you know, just like hitchhike. And I came across the first lesson I learned in terms of leadership, the listening skills. You just have to imagine, I was really excited, now I'm going on this trip, you know, it's 1 year, I planned it out, and, you know, this is my big leadership achievement, and maybe one day I'm going to be an American, and so on. So I was talking about my project a lot when people gave me a ride. And it was good, people were kind of curious, and I said, oh my God, that's kind of interesting. But then I realized, you know, many days in, well, things are going to be much better if I become a listener and not a speaker. You know, because people give me a ride in their car, and I felt like what people would like to have in return is someone to listen to their stories, to their good things in life, maybe to trouble they experience. So I turned it around to become a listener. You know, that's my story. Hey, this is all about you. You give me a ride, and this is what I give to you. Hey, tell me what you want to tell me. And people were happy. People were really happy, and I'm sure in leadership, you experience the same. You know, when you have people working for you, like the more the leadership is able to listen, to understand the workforce, the better the leadership can react. So just a few facts, you know, about listening. 85% of what we know, we have learned through listening. 80% of our success in learning from other people is based upon how well we listen. So, this is what I experienced in my life a lot. Also, when I moved to America, like I have had to learn a lot of things: language, culture, you know, the system, the economy, how does it work? You know, like at times when I was a good listener, I learned way faster than, you know, at times when I wasn't a good listener. No way to learn. And let me ask you, you know, listening means also having an attention span. Huh? Someone tells you something, okay, I'm listening. How long can I keep my attention? What do you think? How long is the current attention span right now, in 2019?
17 seconds.
17 seconds? 2 minutes? What did you say?
At least a minute.
At least a minute. Okay, 8 seconds. Yeah? At the turn of the century, it was 12 seconds. In the 1970s, it was like 25 seconds. So, you know, things get shorter because, you know, all the great technology we have kind of changes us. Yeah? Oh, well, get a message, okay, tweet, 160, you know, letters, not more, that's it, you know, no more attention. So kind of like, we are not used to have a long attention anymore. You know, and it's something valuable to practice. To practice having a longer attention, to be a good listener in a leadership position. So I would like to give you 4 challenges today. You know, you don't have to do them today, just for the next 7 days. The first one is the listening challenge. Yeah? I would kindly ask you to write down one name, privately, you don't have to share that, a person, yeah, for the next 7 days you want to listen to, and you really want to practice listening and extending the attention span more and more. It could be a person from your personal life, it could be someone at work, just one person for the next 7 days. You really want to focus on listening. The husband?
Yeah,
Right, good. The wife and husband, well, that's a tough one. And well, you know. Yeah, I know it's a challenge. Come on, I know it's a challenge. Right, all right, cool. Good, guys, thank you. Right, one person. Cool. So this is how it looked like. So I was on that trip, and yeah, and these people, they had stories to tell. You know, they had stories, life stories, and I learned to more and more, you know, be the fly on the wall. And people helped me. Like this gentleman, this is still in Germany. He's like, oh my God, it was such a great ride. 1 hour. He talked, he told me his stories. He called his sister. His sister helped me with food. You know, the sister again called someone else, helped me with accommodation. So by being a listener, I could travel around the world for free pretty much. So you may wonder, okay, so how does he get food? You know, single day, you know, we need to eat at least 3 times a day somehow. Yeah, how did I do it? So I went by the barter system. So what can you barter if you don't have money? You know, you cannot barter goods or money. So I offered like something I can just do on the spot. So here I was in a bakery in Belgium, and I asked the lady, look, what do I have to do to get the muffin for free? And right away she said, look, if you're going to tell me a joke and the joke is good, you're going to get the muffin for free. You know, I told a joke, you know, kind of medium joke, you know, not too good of, you know, joke teller. And she said, look, it was all right, you get the muffin for free. And this is how I did it all over the world. You know, like just an example, I was in Vegas at one stage later, went to a Starbucks, and the 3 people working there, you know, I asked them, what do I have to do? And they said, look, you're going to get a banana, a coffee, and a sandwich for free if you're going to do a handstand here, but you have to stand up for like 3 seconds. So I went out, practiced half an hour, you know, I had to practice, I don't know how to do this, you know, went in, kind of did it for almost 3 seconds, yeah, and got the food. And the good thing is, like people, like customers, saw what's going on, and they were curious, like what's going on here? Why is the guy, you know, doing a handstand? So I shared my story, and I got new barter deals with the customers. So that's how I kind of got the food around the world. All right. So at lunch you don't have to barter. I've seen it already. It's the buffet outside. Don't have to barter. Don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah? So how did I travel across the Atlantic from Europe to North America? So I, you know, went to a harbor in Belgium, asked all these like shipping companies to give me pretty much a ride, 12 days across the Atlantic, you know, and me being someone working on that cargo ship. Got a job, no money, but I could travel across the Atlantic, and no, I had to work. And, you know, listening came back. Because stuff like this, like, well, you know, like you got to do an oil change on a 23,000 horsepower engine that requires listening. And I could see myself like, well, attention span, oh my God, yeah, well, I listen, but then I'm thinking about all these other things, like, you know, my past, my future, the trip, you know, my girlfriend at home. And if I could at that stage, you know, recognize how difficult it can be to really listen, you know, and really keep that attention span long. But worked out in the end of the day, did jobs like this, you know, changed the oil in 23,000 horsepower engine, great experience. So 12 days across the Atlantic, made it to Montreal, Canada. So that computer there is the computer there. So digitization, you know, of our world helped me a lot, because I could go online for free all around the world, could use social media, Facebook. There is even social media, especially for travelers, called couch surfing. reach out to people and say like, hey, I'm the guy without money, currently in Montreal, who can, help me out? Do you know anyone? And it's so great with social media, with the digital world. If you know how to do it, people share your post, and you get somehow a person who gives you a place to stay for a couple nights for free. Sometimes on the couch, in the living room, stuff like that, and it works. And for me, I would say I wouldn't have made it around the world without money, in the analog days, without internet, without all these achievements. I think it has brought us forward so much. And in terms of leadership, I see that every day, how important digital communication is and how it can help you. I was giving a seminar a couple of weeks ago to mid-managers of McDonald's in Denver, in the tech center. And their biggest issue was the communication. 80 mid-managers across the state, and kind of everyone on his own in a franchise system. And their main issue was how can we help each other? So we worked on digital communication, set up a Facebook group, everyone is in there, and then you guys reach out to each other and just share, information and stuff about, problems you're having right now. So the digital world is helping so much. Ohio. Crossed Ohio, hiking, was interesting. And all of a sudden, someone stopped by. And I asked him, why do you go by horse buggy? Is that, something I missed out on? He's like, well, I belong to the Amish farmers, and we live a lifestyle of the 19th century. No internet, no technology, nothing. I was like, oh my God, that's so interesting. It's like a time travel. Can I stay with you guys? And first he said, look, we don't do that. But then he was pretty open to, that I could stay with his family in the village of Berlin, So kind of did I go in circle here? No, they immigrated to the United States from southern Germany in the 19th century, from the Black Forest. So they called it Berlin. 100 people, different Berlin than the capital in Germany. So I had this great opportunity now to stay with the Amish farmers and live this kind of time travel of 19th century. And day in, day out, awesome. They fed me, I helped them, their farming stuff and so on. But at one stage I realized, oh my God, I've been here for 8 or 9 days. Because it was I was in a comfort zone. I had a bed, I got food, and I got pretty nice people, really awesome people. So I forgot to kind of embrace change. To make it to Antarctica without money, it requires constant change. Like in any kind of leadership position. Whenever the comfort zone is reached, well, great. But very good to leave it again and to embrace change. And I missed out on that. 9 days in, I felt wow, oh my God, what am I doing now? Now I'm under pressure. I have to move on to make it to Antarctica before the winter. So I had kind of a time limit going on. And so embracing change was one of these big things I reflected on during the trip and after the trip. How important it is, to sharpen the ability to embrace change. Who knows it? Whenever the comfort zone is reached, kind of let's stay in there. That's human, right? That's so human. And I'm I mean, just an example, 10 years ago, I was one of the last people who started my banking thing online, back in Germany. Everyone done it. I haven't done it because I didn't want to embrace change. It's good to stick like it was, let's do this kind of analog thing. But, to really achieve a goal, change is so important. And so basically, after the trip, not during the trip, I went through this. What happens to us emotionally when there is a major change? And there are these 7 stages. First, it always starts with shock. Disbelief, self-doubt, acceptance, experimentation, search for meaning, integration. And that's, I think, is so important to forward to the workforce. Guys, we're having a change process here. Companies merging, industries changing, things are different. Hey, we always start with a shock. No one likes it at the beginning. And with that knowledge, that reflection, that it's not wow, change process is here, we love it, it's so much easier to go through. And I can give you an example. When I came to America, first time, it was just after my high school, like just, that after I used Alta Vista in '96. So I went to Santa Barbara for a year for a volunteer job. And great, California, Santa Barbara, it was overwhelming. But I had a culture shock. The change was so big from the German culture to American culture, and I was like 18 or 19. The first 3 weeks, I felt like on kind of funny medication. It was just like something was different because the change was so big. And looking back to that experience, it was the shock, the culture shock first. First 2-3 weeks. And then it was the disbelief. Oh, what have I done? Why didn't I stay in Germany? Self-doubt, wrong decision. Acceptance, well, kind of okay here, Experimentation, let's meet people, let's get into the society here. Search for meaning, well, maybe this is an awesome opportunity for me. Maybe I want to come back. Integration, yes, I'm going to come back, I want to be part here. 7 stages. And let me just ask you, like, when you have change process professionally or something changing in your private life, can you think about something, some little change process you're in, and can you see yourself at one of these 7 stages currently? Anything? Well, where would you see yourself?
I would say in experimentation.
Right.
As something's been brought forward.
Right. So, and if you know this, experimentation, it's like, hey, good, I've went through this quite a lot, so, the finish line is there. I just changed the Keynote the last 2 days. It looked a bit different. And it was like, I was stuck in disbelief, like, oh my God, don't tell that, and don't share that, that joke doesn't work. You never know. So I was stuck in disbelief, but then I moved up yesterday, kind of like 5, 6, 7. And I think this can be really helpful to embrace change, faster and more successful in a way. So, change. So, staying with the Amish farmers, kind of like lost too much time, but they gave me a bike that was awesome as a present, without a gear. The gears were broken. So Ohio is not like that, like here, but it is kind of, many hills. So 2 days I was done. I couldn't do it anymore. So here I got it. Oh, I have to embrace change. If I'm stuck on this bike, I'm never gonna make it to Antarctica. So I was forced to embrace change at this stage. So I sold the bike, got some money for a Greyhound bus across the Midwest of the United States. So I felt like, oh my God, yes, exactly. I have to embrace change to make this project happen. Never be stuck in one thing for too long. So 48 hours later, I arrived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, met this gentleman just at the Greyhound bus stop. And he introduced himself as Joseph, a homeless person. And he invited me to stay with him, to have a look at the homeless scene, and to learn from him how to get food and to hang out together. I was like, awesome, let's do it. So change. All of a sudden I was in that homeless scene. So this is like a mission station from the church. Homeless people get free food. Then we went to another of these missions, and people getting free food. So it was interesting, and I met Joseph and me became friends. And I realized this is about change now. Huh? And that gentleman next to me, his name is Greg. He taught me such a lesson on change because, unfortunately, I'm a homeless person. And I was like, oh my God, how did it happen? I mean, you kind of come across as like a business owner in a way. And he's like, look, I've been a business owner of a landscaping company in leadership, but things went wrong. He lost his company, he lost everything. Now he was in need, getting food for free. Huh? And the great thing of our conversation was, he just said, look, never look back, learn from failure. Failure is part of success. If you want to be a good leader, good in leadership, always, accept failure. Fail forward. And that's something I never heard before, with all respect. I never heard before. For me, it was always a dangerous thing, failing. It's not allowed. Don't do this. Don't talk about it. Put it under the carpet. This gentleman was so open about it. And he said, look, next month I'm going to be back. You know, I'm learning from this experience and I'm going to be back with my business. So that's my third key lesson I'm taking away from this trip. Successful leadership means failing forward. So I like to quote on Elon Musk. Great entrepreneur, awesome, you know, like all these companies, SpaceX, Tesla, Solar City, and so on. What a huge man. And I was kind of, you know, intrigued by him and researched a lot on him, on his biography. And I was really surprised. Everything he writes is kind of like failure. Like, you go through his biography and obviously you see like SpaceX and Tesla and all this, but then you read like, you know, he got fired from PayPal, like so many times, nearly bankrupt, you know, the rocket crashed, he lived on $1 a day after high school, kind of like, I felt like, wow, this man doesn't have a problem of failure. He doesn't have a problem to write in his biography, 2 companies failed, the third company was the big success. You know, this guy can do it. Sure, he is so successful. And I think his openness about any kind of failure has helped him so much, you know, to really succeed, to learn. I've seen interviews when he was talking about failing forward, how he learned from one, you know, failing situation and reached a success. So there is a quote of him. If something is important enough, you should try, even if the probable outcome is failure. I find it pretty risky. Like, yeah, you know, I don't say I agree with it. I'm just curious. Who would live on this quote? Who says like, yeah, that's my kind of quote? And who doesn't? Who does? Right. So like 2 or 3 do, right? It's hard to have that mindset because it's a mindset of a risk taker. And taking risk can go both ways, but I think to have something of him is always good. Failure is part. We don't want to run away from failure. You know, every successful person has failure. Okay, moving on. Route 66. Imagine me as a German in America, no money. Route 66. That's what I've seen before when I was like, you know, watching movies as a teenager. You know, Route 66, the big thing. And I did hitchhiking, and a person gave me a ride with the great Mustang from the 60s. So how can it be cooler? So hitting Vegas. And at first I thought, oh my God, that's going to be so easy. Yeah, the fun place, no money, who cares? You know, this is good. Yeah, no, it's not. No money is not fun. No money is not fun. Yeah, that's Vegas. So that was a big crisis. So failure. Like I went to 100 hotels asking for a place to stay, you know, with kind of like a barter deal. Like, hey, I can kind of like clean your rooms. And they were like, yeah, write a letter to the head office in New York City. So yeah, maybe not. So it didn't work. And imagine 110 degrees, desert. And this is serious, no money. I had a rescue phone on me in case I have to go back. But, you know, as long as I don't do it, I have to make it. So there was pressure. And 100 hotels, and I was like, oh my God, this is the biggest challenge I'm having here. You know, Vegas is making it hard. How can I find a place to stay? Failure. So I learned. I tried to learn from all these rejections I had. And I met this gentleman at the end of the day. If you ever travel, you know, to Vegas without money, please go to the Roadway Inn right away. Right away. Don't do the other 100 hotels. You know, just go to the Roadway Inn. David is the manager. You know. And he likes people without money somehow. So here's the thing. First, I did it wrong. I asked him, like, okay, can we do a barter deal, kind of? And that's not how it works, because that means I'm not listening to my client. Yeah, it's like saying to her customer, yeah, let's just sell this thing. Give me your money. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I had practiced this quite a bit during the trip. Wow, become a listener. What is your need? David, what could I do for you right here that you offer me, hopefully, a room to stay for free? And interestingly enough, whenever I asked this question and I got into these people, they had a wish. So he said, look, my biggest dream is to be on American television one day. I was like, well, okay, cannot do it. He's like, well, but you've got video cameras on you, because I was filming the whole thing. I was kind of like self-filming this trip. I was like, yeah, I got the video cameras. He's like, yeah, what's about you gonna interview me, give me the videotape, I connect it to my television at home, turn on the television, and when people come by, I'm on American television. So I was like, okay, that's your thing, awesome. So I interviewed him, he got the tape, he was happy, I got 3 nights to stay for free. So by listening, by learning to become a better listener to the people, there we go. So now Vegas, like I said, a challenge. Well, things are a little bit different there, all these barter deals didn't work. So, okay, embracing change. This trip forced me to embrace change. So here's something you might wonder what's going on. Huh? So why is the guy on the floor? Why is there a pillow? So I try to become a better listener and listen to the people in Vegas, mostly tourists. What are your needs? And I came across quite a few people who said, look, this is a great place, but it's really hot, and there are no benches, no park benches to hang out. It's just either you walk, or you're in the casino, or you're nowhere. So there is not a place to hang out, just like, So I was like, okay, let's offer the service of the human sofa. People can have a seat on the human sofa for a minute, chip in $1, and hopefully this is a service, that kind of is required. And it was. So people said like, oh my God, sure, let's sit on this human sofa, get a photo for home. Like, what have you done in Vegas? Well, I was sitting on the human sofa. Awesome. Unexpected. Sometimes even people chipped in $5, fair enough, the big guys. So it worked out. It worked out. So kind of leaving the comfort zone, thinking outside the box, because before this I tried like playing the guitar. I'm a really bad guitar player. No one chipped in money. Doing the magic tricks, I'm not good. There are other people better. So it had to be something completely different. And I'm glad I've done it, because I got enough money to travel to California from here. So, and this was the 4th point of my leader acronym, development. Because at this one stage, of the trip, I realized, well, it's all about comfort zone leaving, about new ideas, redeveloping, never lean back. If you want to make it to Antarctica, if you want to have this as a successful leadership project, well, never lean back. And that's what I think in leadership is so important, to constantly develop professional development, personal development, to be willing to leave that comfort zone, even if there is a comfort zone happening at one stage, to confront one's fears, obstacles, and be a challenger, to self-challenge. And that trip luckily taught me to be able to confront my fears. There have been fears. Fear of loneliness, fear of not making it. Although I had a phone, a rescue phone, I wouldn't have, died or anything, but there was fear, sometimes serious fear of what's happening if this is not going to work out today, then it's going to be really stressful. And I think it did help me, this experience, that it forced me to go through this and to be able to confront a few, like a few obstacles. Like nowadays, when I'm by myself, much easier than 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I could never be myself. Like, I need people. After this trip, it's like, well, sometimes I'm by myself 2 days. Who cares? So I would like to ask you for a second challenge, for the next week. So maybe you could think about one of your fears. We all have some fear. Fear of height, fear of people, fear of public speaking, all these things. And maybe you have one little fear. And you want to write it down and tell yourself for the next 7 days to try to confront it. Like, let's say public speaking, well, let's just, set up a meeting and speak, however bad it goes. All right? Second challenge. So, I made it to California, and, like I said, embracing change, constant development, because the human sofa didn't work in San Francisco, because no one needed it. I was going there, hey guys, human sofa, and it's like people are like, well, we can sit down here, we don't need that service. So I was forced to change again. So I thought like, okay, what are the needs of the people? So, okay, steep hills, so maybe they need the hill helper, someone who is pushing people up the hill, right? So, I mean, could be a good one, but I only had one customer, I must admit it. $1, that was it. End of the story. The other people said, look, the touching thing doesn't work. okay, so I had to embrace change. So I thought, okay, what is needed in this town here? And I saw all these people leaving the office at 5 p.m. in San Francisco. You know, and some of them told me, yeah, I had some kind of conflict with my leadership and I'm stressed out. I was like, oh my God, people need like stress management. Huh? So how can I offer the service of stress management to the people? So I still had my pillows on me and I offered pillow fighting for $1 to really relieve stress. And but look at this, first client said, okay, cool, $1 a minute fighting. Worked out. Then, 10 minutes later, people were lining up. Everyone wanted to pillow fight. And this is not even me anymore here. This is like, you know, leadership and someone, you know, like an employee. And they just gave me $5 to sort something out. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe for your association, you know, like just an idea if you ever need some, you know, stress management, I can supply some pillows. Huh? Right. So I've done this for like a week. So just imagine, this was hard work. I mean, whoever wants to, you know, go out with pillow fighting, you know, it's okay. 2 people can just like do that. So 1 week pillow fighting. 8 hours a day. Hard work. Right, so it was 1 week, 7 days. So kind of full day, you know, like, you know, not 8 hours, but I was pretty tired. What do you think? How much I got in 1 week? $8,000. $8,000, kind of close. not close. Well, $300. Huh? So something, yeah, $300. So enough money for a plane ticket to take an airplane to Central America, to Costa Rica. So jumping over Mexico, over like Nicaragua, all these countries, down to Costa Rica. So then this stage I realized, okay, I mean the trip has been fun so far, but I realized another aspect of leadership, of my leadership project. You know, somehow things become really good here and really easy to move on when they become kind of like humorous. And I can tell you already, like after this project was finished and I had some appearances on television shows and stuff with it, like they only invited me for those humor parts. You know, I remember talking to a talk show host and he said, look, you know, we had all these adventurers on, you know, on our show, but we didn't really need another one. But you were like one of the few who had these kind of like, you know, like funny ideas, because normally a person who climbs Mount Everest is not really doing a pillow fight or something. So this was kind of my key for success, for leadership success. And I know in your positions it's different. Like you don't, you know, go to work and, you know, do the stand-up comedy, but you know, humor in leadership, I think, can always be helpful. I'm saying that as a German, you know, and so look at this. Forbes magazine brought out an article, Why Humor Works in Leadership. And so many aspects. Humor is you know, obviously humanizing. Yeah? You know, people are more likable when some humor is in. You know? Humor boosts morale. Funny people are more approachable. So I would say this project, if there wouldn't have been these funny elements of like the sofa and the pillow fighting and something that's going to come up now, people wouldn't have really invited me to talk shows and stuff. It wouldn't have been a success. So for me, it's like always a takeaway. Never forget the humor. Anyone likes humor in leadership? Right. It's hard to learn. It's hard to learn. Like, you know, like I said, I'm coming from a culture, we're kind of serious in a way. So it's hard to learn humor. But I've seen in companies, like people in leadership, like the entertainers, they're the cool people somehow. So, flying over to Costa Rica with the pillow fighting money. Yeah. All the way Central America, and it was pretty cool. Like awesome place, Costa Rica, great place for vacation. I mean, yeah, just look at it. Hitchhiking is pretty easy. You just jump on the back of the truck. You know, people are like, whatever, you know, no big deal. And you know, you cross the border to Panama, little country next to Costa Rica, and as a German citizen, I experienced, I tried something new. You know, I realized, you know, never try the old ideas anymore. Like, that was a taboo at this stage. So, new idea, go to the German embassy and, you know, speak to the ambassador. And I got an appointment, 5 minutes with the German ambassador, and he was like, okay, what's going on? I was like, look, you know, I would kind of like to have another a flight to South America. Could we do a barter deal? You know, and same story here. Not just let's trade, it was more like, do you need anything? Anything I could do for you, so you would help me with a flight to South America. And again, it worked. You know, listening to this gentleman, the German ambassador, it worked because he told me he's having a party, a garden party, down there in Panama that next Saturday, and he needs a butler. I was like, oh my God, you know, I think I can be a good butler. So there we go. So embracing change, right? Embracing change to be a butler for the German ambassador in Panama. And it was pretty cool. So I, you know, tried to do my best there. And at the end of the day, the ambassador, his wife, and this kind of German-British butler on the left. So he was happy. He was happy. He was like, look, I can help you with a flight to, you know, neighboring country of Colombia. But then he introduced me to another gentleman on that party. German gentleman. And he's like he's an agent for operas. So he travels around the world and he organizes in national theaters these big events. So he's kind of like an opera meeting planner or something. So, and he just said, look, my friend, you know, are you down for a challenge? I was like, wow, this is all about challenge here, you know, day in, day out. I'm ready. I'm ready. He's like, look, so he told me he's preparing the premiere of The Magic Flute from Mozart in the National Theater in Panama. So he's the guy organizing this big, you know, premiere, classical premiere. And he's like, look, your challenge, you know, if you want me to chip in for that flight, is to go on stage and be part of all those actors. If no one figures out that you're like completely unqualified for this, you made it, and then you're gonna have a bigger flight to like Peru. I was like, oh my God, okay, leaving comfort zone, huh? Feeling fear, like of embarrassment, of like failure, all these things, you know, I was speaking about came in. But I had to do it. You know, I wanted to achieve the project. You know, there was this one goal. I want to make it happen. If I won't make this project happen, you know, maybe other things in life won't work. And so the premiere started, and I was in the last row. You know, kind of hiding behind the others, but kind of an extra, pretending to sing, didn't sing, and no one really figured it out. So I've done it. The man chipped in for that flight, and I got a flight to Peru, so which was pretty cool. So being a butler, being like an actor on stage, you know, made me fly to Peru. So South America. So I'm coming closer to Antarctica. Yeah? This is like south of the equator, and well, Peru, country of Peru, is kind of famous for the Inca side, Machu Picchu. So many people travel there to see the famous ruins of Machu Picchu. I wanted to see them for free. So I asked the tourist guide if I can be a porter. And he's like, look, you can, you know, carry our luggage, but seriously, that's like 14,000 feet in the Andes and 5 days, 50 miles. You know, you don't want to do it. The Peruvian porters, they're trained, you're not. And I was in this mindset, hey, you know, facing challenges, I can do anything now. It's good, but, you know, failure might be part of, you know, challenges sometimes. So I got this job, 50 miles across the Andes, and first day it looked good. But the first night, I realized, oh my God, you know, like the porters, the workers, they don't sleep in a tent. This is like 9,000 feet elevation, and they just sleep on the floor. So I couldn't sleep. I realized this is not my cup of tea here. This is too far outside my comfort zone. Really, I'm not used to this. I couldn't sleep. I was tired. I wanted to go back. So next morning, like, everything was fast. The workers like worked really hard, and I couldn't keep up with it. So people were getting a little bit unhappy already, and then yeah, well, this is how things happened. I'm done. The 20 kilograms. They basically too much. No, I'm losing touch to the porters. Senor, Una pregunta. Sorry, but I just can't go on. I can strap the bags on the horses.
Sorry, that's not possible. The horses are fully loaded. No way.
The port is getting angry. They're always shouting from up there that I should definitely hurry up and not take a break, because they have to be on top of the mountain before the tourists arrive, because the tourists want food. So if they don't get food on time, they might want their money back. And it's my fault right now. So, shit. I'm over 4,000 meters and there is no air. I can't breathe. I wish I would have never done this. What do you think? What happened after this?
Kept going.
I got fired? Kept going?
Changed your mindset.
I changed my mindset.
You're there.
What do you think? Took a nap? Well, the lady here is right, I got fired. So, well, that happens, you know, sometimes, well, failure. So that was a lesson for me to learn, you know, to face these challenges. It's an awesome exercise. But don't think, you know, every challenge can be faced, you know. Sometimes there is failure. And I got fired. They said, look, you're fired, you know, you go back. That was the end of the story of the first day. So I went back to Cusco. That's the town, you know, kind of like at the trailhead of this Machu Picchu trailhead. So something else happened now. So first I was really lucky because I met a gentleman from Europe, and he said, look, you're going to stay in my house, don't worry, you're going to sleep here a couple of days. And, you know, and he was just moving in. He was working for an NGO in Peru. So I was like, okay, great, awesome, you know, I'm gonna stay here and, you know, forget about, you know, me having been fired there. So, but something negative happened there, because he just moved in and there was an oven, like a kind of like a traditional oven, you put wood in, and he just told me, look, just put the wood in and, you know, light the fire. So it's going to be warm in the house, because this is on 9,000 feet elevation. So I did that. And one thing that happened, we didn't know, I didn't know, he didn't know, that between the oven and the ceiling, there was like the chimney, but it was kind of like out of, like something temporary out of cardboard. So you can imagine, like a chimney out of cardboard is not really good. You know? It's not really the thing you want to do. So what I think that the work is forgot to get that temporary one out. So what happened? You know, the chimney went on fire. The house went on fire. I'm not kidding. And there wasn't running water at that time in the town of Cusco, so we couldn't even, you know, solve this. So I ran out, and I speak like a little bit Spanish, not really good, and I knew fuego is like fire. Huh? So I was shouting fuego, fuego, but it means, which I didn't know, more like, you know, a light. You know? So people were all, you know, giving me a light. I was like, look, it doesn't help. The house is on fire. So it really happened. And well, we safe, and you know, this is most important. We were safe, and even the videotapes on me safe. But the house was pretty much, the apartment was pretty much gone. That's actually the oven without a chimney. Huh? It's gone. So big shock, and it was pretty much the low point of the project. And I'm sure you know this from the projects you're having, that there is somehow, you know, doing a project, facing a challenge, there is this point where you just want to say, like, look, I don't want to do it anymore, you know, stress level too high, whatever. This was it. I was ready to go home. I had that rescue phone on me, and I had a friend in Germany, you know, being prepared to help me out of any kind of country if I would call. And I was already having the phone in my hand, and I'm glad I didn't press the call button. Because imagine if I wouldn't have done it, if I wouldn't have gone back, I wouldn't have finished the project, and I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't even be in America. So I'm so glad. Why didn't I break up the project? Because luckily I'd been networking beforehand. You know, this trip pretty much taught me or forced me to network, to speak to all these people each day, and to become a networker. And with all respect, the culture I'm from, we have a hard time networking. We're more like, private people, don't talk too much sometimes, So it was kind of like out of my comfort zone to speak to all these people. And luckily at this stage of the trip, this is like 4 months in, I was kind of in the mood, like, hey guys, let's talk, network. And these people, two travelers, they said, look, you're not going back. Huh? You're having a crisis. You're not going back. And isn't it like that? Like in networking, like if you have a good network, good people around you, whenever there is a crisis, they say, look, don't stop. They encourage you. And this is what happened here to me. They encouraged me to move on, and they helped me with a barter deal. I became their tourist guide. So I just helped them, showed around town and stuff, and they gave me a bit of money, food, accommodation. So because of these two people, I am here today. Huh? If I wouldn't have had a certain network in that town, I would have given up. And I'm so glad networking, relationship building, that's helping, in terms of crisis. Huh? Sometimes I speak on the subject matter of resilience. And resilience, to become a resilient person, this is one of a few pillars. To be a good networker, and relationship builder. And believe me, now I live in Golden, close to Denver, in like a little mountain home. And and sometimes this kind of like side comes out, like I don't want to network, I want to be private in my house and all this. And I have to push myself out of my comfort zone, say like, look, go to the networking event. Don't hide between the computer and the emails and the tweets or whatever. Talk to real people for your personal and for your professional success. And I would like to give you the third challenge for the next 7 days. Maybe you can think about one person you wanted to reach out for a long time, and somehow life is busy and all that, and you haven't. And maybe you just want to write down the name of the person, to reach out to that person within the next 7 days and just say, hey, let's catch up. And not via tweet. I'm saying via telephone. How rare is it these days? People on the phone. I don't see that anymore somehow. It's like, well, email, social media. So talking to people and really being connected to people. That's, in my case here, doing the trip, that helped me to make it. So here's a nice study. 2/3 of respondents stated that building and maintaining relationships is a critical competency for leadership. Almost 500,000 people participated in that study. So, final stretch of the trip. So from Peru, you travel into Chile, into Argentina, or like Buenos Aires, a beautiful city, and then it goes like south in Argentina, and things become pretty cold. You see no more trees and kind of the end of the world getting closer. So I reached the most southern tip of South America, and it's a town called Ushuaia. Just known pretty much for like Antarctic cruise travel. So very hard to get a trip for free. Like a trip like this to Antarctica, 2 weeks in and out, 10,000 bucks. So obviously didn't have that, but I had pre-planned this a little bit. So before the trip, I had called all these companies down there and said, look, can I work for you? Kind of a barter deal. And this was an agreement I had beforehand, and this shipping company had accepted me as like the assistant of the expedition leader to work on that ship and to see Antarctica for free. So I knew this is my final stretch, I'm gonna make it, because on that boat, I'm gonna have food, I'm gonna have a bed, I just have to work. So really exciting, but on that final stretch, as it is, I think in projects all the time, there was an obstacle. You think you almost made it, and then there is the obstacle. And here the obstacle was seasickness. The windiest sea region in the world. I mean, everyone I talked to so far who has been to Antarctica says like, yeah, seasickness, over, whatever. So this happened to me. Painful, but it was the last obstacle, the last challenge to go through, to be at that goal, to really make it. And then, I was doing this job, this is not Antarctica yet. This is an island between South America and Antarctica. My job was the penguins on one side, the tourists on the other side. No one, kind of interacting too much. So good job, easy job. And finally, Antarctica. I reached Antarctica. Yes!
Wigge is overjoyed to have finally reached his eagerly anticipated goal. 150 days of extreme highs and lows. Often he has thought that Antarctica would remain just a dream after the most intensive months of his life.
I've reached Antarctica. Yes, I finally made it. I can't believe it. It happened. A few facts of this trip. I crossed 11 countries. I had 40 different places to sleep. I asked more than 500 times for food in shops and restaurants. I traveled 35,000 k's within 150 days. And over 100 people, very nice and generous people, helped me on this trip, and I'm really happy to have had the great chance to have met these very, very, very nice people. It's cold. Why did I travel here? I can't believe it. Right, Antarctica. So this was great. It really happened. If I look back, you know, being in my small town when I graduated from high school back in Germany, you know, like wanting to have kind of an achievement to move on. So this was kind of like a step, like a step, you know. So and you may think, well, okay, he's done it, so maybe end of the story. But the real story begins here, because I went back to Europe at that stage, and I had filmed all this. Bilingual, German and English. So you've seen the English part, done it in German as well. So, you know, got a lot of video footage, went back. And first I didn't realize it, but this trip has sharpened all these aspects. You know, like I was all of a sudden after this half a year so much better in change, in like, you know, accepting the failure in my own development, in, you know, the entertainment and relationship building. It was like practiced. So I was having this mindset I'm calling the challenge for change mindset. And with the challenge for change mindset, you know, being outside the comfort zone feels almost natural. So I was back in Berlin and I wrote the book. The book became #1 on Amazon Travel in Germany, How to Travel the World for Free. You know, edited that video show in Germany, went on national television, many reruns. People were like, oh, the guy, you know, without money. So when I walked, you know, across Berlin, people were like, oh, the no money guy, I know you from television. So I was like, oh my God. And this was the point, you know, I recognized, well, I'm in my comfort zone now. Hey, people recognize me. I'm the, you know, the guy without money. No, not good for dates, just that you know, yeah? That's not good. You know, the women are like, nah, look, you know, like we don't, maybe not. Yeah? So, but everything else was great. But I realized now I'm in a great position, but I'm in my comfort zone. Don't stay there. If you want to, you know, have that leadership success, leave right away. Leave that comfort zone, move on. So what I've done, I got the translator, translated the book into English, How to Travel the World for Free. So everyone gets a copy afterwards. It's out there. So, well, you're welcome. So I got, you know, the book translated, self-published. You know, the publishers were like, look, we don't know, like a guy without money, no, sorry. So I got the book translated, self-published in English. And I got found a PR agent here in Texas, in the United States. I was like, look, can you make it happen that people are going to see this? Because I'm in Germany and I don't know anyone in America. You know, can we kind of make it happen? And she said, look, yes, let's just, you know, make this happen. And she did PR for me. All of a sudden the phone rang, like, you know, months in. And it was like someone from PBS, you know, and I was in Germany. And he was like, look, are you the guy without money? I was like, yeah, I'm the guy without money. And he's like, you know what? We are the network without money, you know? So I think we are matched. I was like, yeah, what do you mean? He's like, look, do you want to give us your show for free? I was like, oh my God, okay, good, why not? Yeah, fair enough, yeah, fair enough. So we edited that show, gave it to PBS. It was broadcast a couple years ago, pretty much nationwide. Here in America, which was great. All of a sudden, you know, this kind of thing was here in America. And my goal was still to become a motivational speaker in the US. So I was like, okay, so what's next? So I didn't know what next, you know, but then all of a sudden, like my PR agent called me again, and she's like, look, Michael, there is a gentleman wanting to call you, be polite, okay? I was like, okay, sure. So this gentleman called me, he's like, look, I'm the host of a television show in America. Would you like to come on my show? I was like, yeah, we're right. So I mean, us Germans, we like sometimes a little bit, you know, with like excitement, we don't show it so much. You know? So I was like, yeah, maybe, you know. And he's like, I'm the host of the Tonight Show. I was like, yeah, maybe. And he's like, look, I know it's hard for you, but we're gonna have a lady on the show called Katy Perry. And, you know, if you're gonna come on the show, you know, you could ask her for the phone number. What's about that? I was like, okay, great. You know, let's do it. You know, let's do it. So this was awesome. So I was invited on the Tonight Show last year of Jay Leno. You know, presenting that self-published book, you know, on the left, Katy Perry presenting her biography. So I went on the Tonight Show, and I really asked her for the phone number. I'm not kidding. During the show, she called me a cheap date. I was like, okay, maybe not a good start, you know, but I asked her for the phone number, and well, you know, what do you think? Did I get it?
I think you did.
I got it. But you know what? It was wrong. It had like one digit was missing, and I tried everything, and it didn't, something, well. So anyway, so I can say I got the phone number, even if it wasn't the right one. So this was awesome. So, but people were like, the producer was in a rush. He's like, look, don't flirt here. You have to go and fly to the Today Show tomorrow morning. So all these things happened, you know. The newspapers came in, big success. I could apply for residency in America, move over to America. So all these things happened. And hey, here I am, living in Colorado, you know, working as a motivational speaker, and you know, having reached my dream. And I'm so glad to have gone through this exercise, you know, the exercise of all these things. And this is something I have to practice every day, because there is this thing in me saying like, look, enough change, let's just go back to the comfort zone. No, it never ends, you know. And failure is part of everyday's life, you know, and development is necessary. All right. Right, yeah, well, be careful, these things, yeah, right. Oh, don't worry. Oh, is it gone? Oh my God, all right. Okay, so tragic incident during the keynote. I mean, someone passed away, so sorry. All right, so the last little challenge I want to give you, it's like the goal setting challenge. You know, just imagine one thing. If a German guy can make it to Antarctica for free, without any money, 25,000 miles, you know, then make it on the Tonight Show, and then get the phone number from Katy Perry on top of it. You know, the wrong one, fair enough. What are you capable to do for the rest of your life? And if you feel like, just write down one goal you always wanted to achieve. And I'm sure you're going to achieve it. Huh? Thank you very much, and yeah, thanks for listening. Everyone gets a book for free. Thank you. Thank you.